Namaskaram. Oru eliyum, oru kadal pakshiyum kandumuttengil endu sambhavikkam. Today I'm going to meet Bobby Seagull, BBC presenter and author. Welcoming to Elikuti's channel today, Bobby Seagull.
Sugamana, namaskaram.
Bobby, you are a Malayali Britisher.
I am from East Ham, and my parents are originally from Kerala. Dad is from Alapi, mum's from Kollam, but they settled here in London in the, late 70s. I'm a school maths teacher professionally, but I'm also doing a doctorate part-time at Cambridge University. But in the UK, most people, apart from my own students who know me as Mr. Seagull, they'll know me as Bobby Seagull, the BBC TV presenter. I do radio work, I write for the Financial Times, I publish books, you can see a couple of them over there. Although my mother, the thing that she always look at me is, go, Bobby. And then when she's doing that, it means, Bobby, why aren't you married? So that's the only thing my mom can, she doesn't care about my qualifications, my degree, my TV show. The only thing she's like, marriage chain, Bobby, marriage.
So we've just started the show, and Bobby wants everyone to know that he's a very eligible bachelor, and he's nicely set up in the UK.
You can set up a new business.
Oh my god. Oh no, thank you. Sorry, I don't deal with the stars aligning or anything like that. You're very much involved in math and numbers and, things like that. And, a lot of us grew up with like kind of anxiety around math. Either we're pushed into like engineering or another math related field. And some people just very early on have like this strong, if you see Spadikam, you see this kind of intense, the world revolves around mathematics. And interestingly enough, your PhD focuses on math anxiety. So can you tell me a bit more about what led you to that and why you feel so strongly about it?
Yes, so maths anxiety, if I had my academic supervisor sitting on my shoulder, he'd say, tell them what it is. And maths anxiety is that negative emotional response we feel when dealing with maths and numbers. And it can bring long division, let's say, or adults, they go into a restaurant and they see the bill and go, ayo, and they have to split the bill, and they don't want to split the bill.
Yeah.
So my research is trying to understand why people have that anxiety, what can be done to alleviate or change it, but also trying to understand the role that the media, television, radio, newspapers play in perpetuating the negative stereotype that only a certain kind of person can do maths. Because often when I'm on television, and the first thing that the presenter will say is, oh Bobby, I couldn't do maths, I hated it at school. So I think there's a constant narrative that maths is only for a certain kind of person. And I know actually from my experience, the reason I'm good at maths is not because I've got like a particularly good brain or anything, is because I worked hard at it, and then over time I became very strong at the subject. And then people think, oh, Bobby's a maths genius, but I say, no, I'm not a maths genius, it's just because I've worked hard for a long period of time. So I'd love to help change the narrative about maths.
And then for me, especially girls, we get told at such a young age, like, oh, girls don't do math, you're more creatively thinking. Do you find that more girls than boys experience this kind of feelings toward maths early on?
Yeah, I think the problem is our society, we stereotype. When we're young, we say, oh, boys like blue, girls like pink, boys like cars, girls like dolls. And of course, there will be some that fit that stereotype, as it were, but we don't allow people a chance to develop individually as who they are. And part of that means with maths, we think, oh, my son, he likes numbers. My daughter, she likes writing. Yeah. And then we feed into their stereotypes that society sets us. And again, actually, if you can look behind me, can you see that little white thing there underneath the orange?
Okay,
can you see that?
What is that?
That's actually a model of my brain. So the BBC did a separate documentary about intelligence, and they tried to assess whether my brain, Bobby Seagull, this famous guy, is his brain any different to other people? Surely he must have a different brain. And when they actually investigated it, they found that my brain is smaller than average physically, and there's nothing special about the brain. So what is it? It's clearly not something physical. And as again, it's about the experiences. My dad encouraged me to like numbers, play about with different shapes and patterns. And then teachers would say, oh, Bobby, you're good at maths. And I'd work harder. So again, that positive reinforcement. So absolutely, I think there's no such thing as a maths brain, that you're born with the ability to do maths, whether you're a boy or a girl. But your experiences, parents, teachers, relatives, they can shape what you think of yourself.
So like talking about parents and social expectations, growing up in the UK, do you find that there were some clashes or some kind of interesting meeting points where there were the British societal standards and what your parents may have carried from Kerala there?
Yeah, I think academia is the most obvious example for me. So with my parents' expectations, you go to school, you work hard, and after school you'd come back home, have some chore and curry, something, but then you'd go and do some homework after school and you study quite hard. Whereas my contemporaries, my peers, they would like go to school, but in the evening they spend a few hours playing around and then maybe do some homework. So I think the academic expectations, and I think that's not necessarily a Kerala specific thing. Generally in Britain, Asian, Indian culture, there's expectation that their children will work quite hard outside of school as well. There's a really strong family connection. Again, I walked to school with my cousins, took the bus with them, so you're constantly surrounded by people, so you don't really get much solo me time. So it's very sort of lots of people around you giving you lots of opinions all the time.
You know, you're growing up with your cousins, you're around your family a lot, but in general, outside of that, like what kind of resources or what kind of things do you have growing up that keep you connected to Kerala?
So one thing I will say is that there are good cultural associations, like there's something called the Malayali Association in the UK, there's the Kerala Catholic Association that my family were part of, and they put on festivities, events, normally around Christmas, Onam, etc. So they're really fabulous. But in terms of my own learning of Malayalam sort of academically, so I remember about the ages of 8, 9, 10, there was a community centre that organised lessons, so me and my cousins would go learn A, E, U, U, Iru. But then for some reason those classes stopped. Because of that, my reading, writing of Malayalam is what it was when I was 8, 9 or 10. And again, that was like maybe 6 months a year of learning Malayalam, but nothing further. So since then, my Malayalam is just absorbing what I see on, let's say, Kairali or Malayalam television stations that mum puts on in the background, or when I visit relatives in India. But yeah, so maybe if I had a time machine, could travel back, I would tell young Bobby, come on, find another class, find another Malayalam class. You need to learn your own language. That's what I'd probably say.
Now, a lot of people feel that, you know, to be Malayali, you have to speak the language, but do you find that there's other ways that keep you connected to your Malayali identity? Like
two things. One is family is very important. Because again, if you have family, again, uncles, aunties, cousins, obviously you chat about stuff that's happening in Britain, but then you'll talk about home back in Kerala, life there, and you'll chat to your relatives in India. And again, one thing that we're very lucky now in 2020 is that we have social media. Also, like being able to explain your culture to other people. In school, I'm a part-time teacher. I'll sometimes talk about houseboats in Kerala. Imagine this, again, my dad's from Alapi. I'll talk to them about what it is, and I've stayed on these. These are very cool. This is actually broken though, so this is not the best example.
But yeah, it's good to be able to share those things, especially with students, because, you know, that brings me to my next point. You're in the UK. There is a Desi population, but it's like hugely like Punjabi. Like, do you feel like sometimes you get kind of stereotyped or some kind of like association that's like not true? Like, what kind of funny things or interesting things have happened because like they don't realize you are Malayali or they don't even know what Malayali means?
But the funniest one I had was, so I rose to sort of, I don't like the word use of fame, but popularity in the UK, because I was on a quiz show called University Challenge, and I was a captain of my college in Cambridge University. When I was on the show, people, actually somebody on the internet, they wrote a poem saying, you know, it's great that we got an Indian on television doing really well, but why is he ashamed of being Punjabi? Why has he changed his name Seagull to Seagull? So people have assumed I'm Punjabi or Bangladeshi, or Tamil, but very rarely Malayali.
I'm going to try to help you learn Malayalam, but I want to try to do it in a way that appeals to your mathematical, analytical brain. So we're going to try to do Malayalam through formulas. So let's see if I can successfully transcribe Malayalam in a way that looks more like a maths textbook than a grammar textbook. I've broken this lesson into two parts. We're going to look at the variables and the invariables. So when we talk about language, the variables is going to be our vocabulary. So we're going to go over two vocabulary lists. The first vocabulary is column A. This is our subject pronouns. So you'll probably be familiar with some of these words. For I, how do you say I?
Nyan, yeah?
Nyan, yes, nyan. And then for he?
Oven.
She?
Oven.
Aval. And then for they, it's avar. Okay, so this is our section for A. This is our variable A. Okay? Our variable B is going to be our objects. Okay, so we have 4 places that we're using. All right, so for the word for room?
Muri.
Yes. Okay, so for car?
Vandi.
Now in Malayalam, the V is not so strong.
Vandi.
Yeah. Vandi. And then for house,
Veed.
so like Kerala is like the English name, but in Malayalam it's actually Kerala. The name of Kerala has an M at the end, so this is important
Kerala.
for our formula. So we have column A and column B. So why do we need to know this? Because now when we learn grammar, we have to learn what the invariables are, has to stay the same. So when we're showing location in English, we say things like I am in the house, he is in the room, she is in the car. But in Malayalam, we don't have prepositions, we have postpositions. Okay, so remember the words from column B. Okay, we had room, house, car in Kerala. Okay,
Yeah.
so we need to change the postposition depending on the spelling. So in our first word, it shows that if it ends with a vowel sound, we change it to yil, right? So muri becomes what?
Muriyil.
Muriyil, in the room. Okay.
Muriyil.
In the second example, if it ends with a we add til. So how would you say in Kerala?
Keralatil.
Kerala til. Good. And then the last one, if it has any other consonant, it's simply il. So vid ends with da. So we add il to make it vitil. So that's the small formula. So here is our final formula when we want to show location. So from column A, we have the subject pronoun, I, he, she, they. We have the prepositional phrase and arne, which is, am, are. Okay. So if you look at the example here, it says Nyan Muril Arne. And then in English, I am in the room. Okay. What do you notice about the structure between English and Malayalam? What's the most obvious thing that's very different?
So the I is fine, that's at the start. Again, we wouldn't put the noun next to the I in English. I'm not sure what, yeah.
Yes, that's right. And then what comes last in Malayalam?
Is that the verb? Is that the verb part?
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at it in a formulaic way, English is known as subject, verb, object. But Malayalam is subject, object, verb. The verb always goes at the end of a simple sentence. Okay. So now that we have the formula, I've put everything here. So we have our subject pronouns A on the left. We have our objects on the right for B. And then we have some sample sentences in the middle. Okay? And then the formula is on the top. A plus prepositional phrase plus arne. Okay? So let's try to make a sentence. The first one says he is in the house. Okay? So if we follow the formula, how would you make this sentence?
So you do the subject, which is oven. Oven. Then we do the object. So it's house is vide. So oven vide, but then we have to change the ending of it. Yeah, vitil.
Exactly.
So oven vitil, oven vitil anu.
Very good. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one says they are in Kerala. So
you look at the pronoun, the subject,
Yes.
which is our. Then it's obviously we go to the object, Keralam, but we Keralatil, yeah.
yes, that's right. Keralatil.
And then anu. So our Keralatil anu.
Our Keralatil Arne. Very good. Okay, one more. She
It's funny,
is
my
in
dad could probably hear this next door and he's thinking, I got mad.
So, all right. So then the last one. She is in the car.
So again, we go for the subject pronoun, which is aval. And then we go for the object, which is vandi, but then it becomes vandiil.
Yes.
So and then it's again anu. So aval, vandiil, ana.
Very good. So here are your answers. Very nice. Okay, so we followed the formula. Here I felt that, sometimes if you break something into a formula and then whenever you go back to remember, like you want to say this is in something, you remember this. Okay, il, yil, til. And it's also useful because as you learn more prepositions of place, but in Malayalam it's a postposition, you would need to continue using this idea. So like, for example, from America, nyan America yil ninnarne. So you use the yil and you add ninnarne, meaning from. Or nyan America yillek po, like I'm going to America. So like when you start learning the small formulas, then you can start adding on. Now, the next part is really fun because once you know the formula, you can kind of cheat your way through Malayalam by using Menglish. So, just by reading these sentences, tell me what they say.
So let me read. Shall I read out first and then?
Yes,
so
read it out, please.
Aval America anu. So she's in America.
Yes, America yilane. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Next one.
Avan schoolile anu. So he is in school.
Yeah, school yilane.
Nyane hotelile anu. That means I'm in the hotel.
I'm in the hotel yilane. Yes. And then the last one.
Okay, the last one I was a bit confused, but I think I got it now.
I made it tricky on purpose.
Yeah. Our Instagratil anu. So they are on Instagram?
Yes, that's right. You know, I actually called my husband and I said, is it correct to say Instagratil? And he's like, technically yes, but we would just say Instagramil. Just because it's a new word, it's not a Malayalam. But I just wanted to see if you could figure it out. And you did.
Nice.
Mirukit. All right, so how are you feeling now?
Nyane champion.
Oh, champion on it. Okay, bhayangara champion on it. Acho. So like I wanted to draw a parallel with your work because you know you talk about maths anxiety and how people become avoidant of doing mathematics, and honestly I see so many people feel this way about languages and particularly Malayalam because a lot of people will just say this is the hardest language in the world, in India, whatever, and then because of that they're like I don't want to study it because it's the hardest. And a good teacher will attempt to try to adapt something to their learners' strengths, right? So sometimes you have to put things in a formula for students that are more math-oriented, or sometimes you have to put things, you know, in a more pictorial way. So I think there's like a lot of parallels. It's not just math, it's not just language. I think the way we approach a subject and the way our children see us approach that subject, it makes a big impression on whether or not they choose to study that. So
totally, the way adults and parents talk about things, if they dismiss things and say, oh, that's really difficult, avoid it, and the kids are, no matter what their capability, they'll stay clear of it. So as parents, again, if you're trying to encourage your kids to get into math or science or music or anything, cooking, what you say, your words have incredible power.
Yeah, that's absolutely true because I have parents that will message me and say, you know, I'm in the UK, I'm in the States, I can't get my children interested. Whenever they speak it, it sounds bad. And I'm just like, are you telling your children that? Because, you know, they mean well and they feel concerned, but as soon as you like tell your child, oh God, you can't speak it, like you know, yeah, so then it's like, do you think that they're going to want to keep trying? No, not at all. Let's talk about the things you've worked on. Let me know your books and like where we can find them and the TV programs that you're working on right now. Like how can we know more about you and what you do?
So I'd say the best way of keeping in touch with all my my book, newspaper, radio, television shows is through social media. So again, I use Twitter, Instagram at Bobby_Seagull, and again I'm sure you'll put it in the notes. Again, I Facebook.com/Bobby Seagull, YouTube.com/Bobby Seagull TV. So again, all the major social media, even TikTok. I mean, not that I produce good TikTok content, but all the major social media I'm on there, and that's the best way for people to keep in touch with me.
Yeah, that's great. And then what are some upcoming things that you have that you're really excited about? That, you know, what are some things that you're looking forward to working on?
So I've published 2 books. I'm currently working on 2 more books. One is not so exciting, but a textbook on maths, but like a really fun way of looking at maths so that people find it a bit more invigorating. And I'm writing a children's book as well. The first time a fiction book, almost like it's like an adventure story with 3 kids, almost like Harry Potter, but like a more puzzly version where they're solving lots of puzzles.
Oh, nice.
So writing that, and again, hopefully TV-wise, I've done a 2 road trip series, and fingers crossed, I'm hoping at some stage to get to do a BBC show in India. So who knows? Maybe I'll come to Kerala and teach the Brits some Malayalam.
Yeah, just stop in Dubai and like pick me up, and then we'll all go. We'll get my husband and everything, and we'll just all have fun. And I mean, you need a translator, right?
Exactly. Elarum form.
Oh yeah. So, and then what other message would you like to pass? I have a lot of followers that are outside of Kerala, whether they're in other states in India or they're in other parts of the world. And I think a lot of times they kind of feel like they've got one foot here and one foot there, and they're not Malayali enough, but they're still like seen as other in other places. What kind of message or encouragement or things would you like them to know or feel?
Yeah, what I would say is embrace the fact that, again, the world is globalized. Maybe our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, they'll be used to one identity. They're from one village, they go to school nearby, go to college nearby, work nearby, and your life is within a small circle. But because of technology, because of globalization, we live in a much bigger world. And also that means our identities are wider than they were before. Rather than me just being, if I was born 100 years ago, I'd just be not even a Mal, I'd just be from Alapi, my dad's place, or from Kollam, my mum's place. Whereas now, I'm a Kerala person who's got identities in Alapi and Kollam, but also I'm a Brit. I'm a Brit from Londoner. I'm a Brit that studied in Cambridge. So again, I think it's being comfortable that you've got multiple identities. And because of technology and social media, again, like amazing work. Again, thank you so much for what you do. It's amazing. People can connect with other Malayalis around the world so much more easily than even like 5-10 years ago. So again, you're part of a big global network of Malayalis, and use technology, again, maybe it's Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and connect with everyone. Just really, we're just a button away from accessing the Malayali diaspora.
Nice. Thank you so much. And by the way, do you know how to say seagull in Malayalam? So it's Kadal Pakshi.
Kadal Pakshi.
Yeah, so Kadal means sea and Pakshi is bird. So Kadal Pakshi.
I say Ende Pere Bobby Kadal Pakshi.
Yeah. So thank you so much, and I'll catch you soon.
Thank you. Pinne കാണാം.